time, bro?
I'm supposed to plan later tonight.
I gotta talk to you about something after this too. So just don't let me forget.
So we just went live. If I happen to come off, you guys keep going because the Wi-Fi boots me sometimes. Randy knows. You just guys keep going, and I'll come right back on. But we're live on our special sideline sit down. A couple of special guests that Randy Bermea, who we had on yesterday, put together here for us today. We have a couple of star track athletes, Texas A&M's alum Robert Grant, coming from Flagstaff, Arizona. Robert. And also we have Devin Allen from Annapolis, Maryland, Oregon Duck alum. So guys, welcome to the show. Robert's on mute. We're gonna have to unmute him here. Always put on his headphones, but guys, welcome.
What's up? How's it going?
So how you doing? Sorry about that. I was trying to set the headphones up here.
All right. So yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. Randy, thanks for putting this together. We're just gonna, just talk about you guys' careers and where you guys have been, from the Olympics to competing in the SEC, from competing at Oregon and playing at Oregon, and just to, you guys can just talk about your stories and where you guys came from and how you guys got there. But first, let's just start with, we'll start with you, Robert, what you've been up to in quarantine and just how has everything been for you?
All right. Looks like he froze.
I think Robert may have froze.
All right, Devin, go ahead.
Yeah. No, things are good. I've just been training for the most part, just hanging out, and I just moved to Annapolis here like the last 2 weeks, so I'm kind of getting settled. Obviously I can't do much because everything's closed, but just settling here at my apartment and just training and trying to stay in shape just in case there is a season for us in the future.
Robert, welcome back. You were frozen there for a bit. We were just talking.
When I put the headphones in, we have really poor service up here. We're kind of in the mountains in Flagstaff. My whole family and I came out here to be together, but when I put the Bluetooth headphones in, everything just froze. So I took them out and figured it out. So it's back now.
Big mountain
guy. What have you guys been up to in quarantine? That's what we were talking about with Devin right now.
Right now, my family and I are we're in our family cabin in Flagstaff, which is like Northern Arizona area. And pretty much wake up every day. My brother and his girlfriend are here from Los Angeles, and wake up every day and get to work. My dad works in the office. My brother and I work in the laundry room. My sisters kind of work at the kitchen table for their schoolwork. And then my mom just kind of does the same thing. And then we go on walks a lot as a family. And then I'll do my workouts in the afternoon. And then we cook as a family at night. And then that's pretty much it. Just relaxing days.
Either of you guys maybe pick up on a hobby or anything like that?
I just been playing video games. I've been doing a little bit of like research on some cryptocurrencies, some day trading stuff. So getting into the stock market. Other than that, I was looking online to get a guitar from Amazon, but it seems that everything from Amazon's taking a lot longer to get shipped. So it might not even be here before quarantine's over.
Really? Robert, how about you? Any hobbies you picked up around the house?
Right now, I'm just focusing on finishing up my school. I'm in my master's program right now at A&M, and I'll be done in the next 3 weeks. So I'm just focusing on that right now. And then I've been playing some video games too. I was in Texas about a week ago, and I was playing a lot of Call of Duty while I was there. Devin doesn't know what that's all about because he's not very good at video games. So he's probably just stick to like stocks and guitars and stuff like that.
Hey, whatever makes me money.
You ain't lying.
Randy, you have questions for the guys?
No, man. I know. First of all, these guys, for people that don't know, these guys are both, Olympic level athletes. Devin is an Olympian in 2016, and both of them were gearing up for their 2020 season. And this whole virus, man, it put a huge, damper on the season, on athletics, on the world, on the way we handle situations. So I know you guys gear up. It's a once in every 4-year thing. I know, Bobby, you made specific moves, with school, with your red shirts and everything to be in this position for 2020, and Devin, your training is going crazy, and just want to see how you guys are trying to shift your mindset more towards, okay, now we got to go for 2021, or is there still hope for maybe like a couple late meets in August or July of this year, or what are you guys kind of gearing towards?
Go ahead, Robert.
Right now, you kind of just have to stay doing what you're doing already because of nervous system cycles. So if we stop training right now, regardless of whether there's a season or not, we would lose a lot of stuff that we've built upon the last few years. So you just have to keep training, even though there is no like certain future in the sport for this year. I think that some things are starting to happen that are good. Like the PGA is coming back in June, and they're talking about maybe baseball relocating to a certain area and competing. Problem with our sport is we travel a lot to compete, and with travel bans and stuff like that, the countries that are negatively affected, kind of like us in Europe and those areas, there would have to be without question certainties that we would be able to go there and compete and stay healthy and stuff like that. And I just don't know the likelihood of that happening in the near future. So I'm optimistic that maybe a late season like July, August could happen, but that all depends on how our governments kind of handle the whole coronavirus epidemic from like a mass scale society standpoint. But just in the meantime, just controlling my attitude and what I can control, and just trying to finish up school and then training, and that's about it.
Devin?
Yeah, no, I think I'm in the same boat. Obviously we're kind of re-gearing up for the Olympics in 2021, but for us pro track athletes, we make money when we compete. So, obviously a season would be good. So we have a chance to kind of compete for one, and like Bobby said, to kind of get the nervous system like on a normal cycle that we would, prepare for this year and then go to next year. And then to just be able to make some money and travel and compete. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, you can look at it as a positive, and that everybody has a little bit more time to prepare. Maybe you didn't need the time, but in my opinion, it's a little bit extra of training can never hurt. For me, especially, just kind of coming back from injury from last year and getting into my new scenario and my new situation, training wise, this definitely helps me in the long run.
So when this whole news broke out, I know for me, I was actually at a softball game when the day the NBA got put on pause. And I think that was the first major domino effect when we saw, at least for the world of sports, starting to get on hold. Did you guys feel the same way, that the NBA kind of not set the standard, but kind of, like I said, push that first domino, push that first button for the world of sports to be put on pause?
Yeah, I think for me that's such a big thing. The NBA is a huge organization. They're probably the most well-run sports organization in my personal opinion, with regards to like the MLB, NFL, NHL, those major sports organizations. I think they're the most well organized and well run. So for them to just say, we're going to suspend the season, I think that was a pretty big deal. So once that domino hit, I got a little nervous about what was going to happen going forward with other sports.
When did it ultimately affect you guys, when you guys got word that both of y'all's seasons were put on hold, or where were you guys when that happened?
Go ahead, Bob.
Devin? I was in the bathtub meditating. I'm not even ashamed to say that. I was doing my meditations for the day, and I was sitting there. I was listening to the soft, soothing voice of this lady telling me to breathe, and then my phone started vibrating like crazy with messages. And it was our team group message, and everyone was freaking out because I'm a volunteer assistant coach at A&M as well. So a lot of the athletes were texting me like, "Did you see this? Did you see this? Did you see this?" And it was kind of crazy and surreal to see like, oh my God, the Olympics are postponed. And but at that time it was just the NBA, but it was like the dominoes were going to start to fall. You could just tell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think for me too, I was in not the same boat. I wasn't in the bathtub, but I was in San Diego because I'm now in a volunteer assistant for the Naval Academy track team, and so we were there training for their like spring break training trip. And I remember like we got there in the morning like 8 a.m. and there had been an announcement that the NCAA indoor meet got canceled. So we were like, oh wow, that's crazy. And then like the next day, the NCAA season got canceled, and the next day, they canceled they canceled school for everybody. So it was like on like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it was like bam, bam, bam. It's happened so quickly. But I think, yeah, I mean, we kind of knew it was gonna happen. Gonna happen. We don't, I'm not a doctor or a scientist, so I don't know exactly how the virus, runs its course and all that. But it seemed very serious at that time, and it seemed kind of silly to think that we were going to have the Olympics as scheduled, especially now it's been like probably over a month that people weren't able to train and have facilities and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Hey, quick question. So I know Devin, you were just talking about it. Imagine being at nationals, indoor nationals. You're there to run. Devin, you've got to do it. Bobby, you've got to do it. And you go do your team shakeout, and then they say, hey, you know what? This weekend's not going to happen. You're done running. The season's over. You got to help. You can't help but feel for those kids, man. I mean, think about your careers, each of y'all's careers, what that indoor NCAA championship has done for you guys, right? It gave you guys an opportunity to win another championship, or, Bobby in world record and all that kind of thing, and it's an unfortunate thing, but I still think personally they should have let the meet go on. Everyone was already there. Everyone was already in contact with each other. I say let the meet without fans maybe if you want, but you got to let the athletes compete in that situation.
Yeah.
That was my opinion. And then as you think about back to high school kids, imagine your senior year gets canceled. I know, Devin, you probably were already set, throughout with your recruiting process and everything, but a lot of kids rely on that senior year to get their money. A lot of them didn't, but sometimes that's the way it is the way it is, right?
Yeah.
So going off of that, speaking of, recruiting process and everything, Devin, for those of you who don't know, Devin played football and ran track at Oregon. Unlike Bobby and I, we're track people. So Devin, that recruiting process was different, right? And you guys both attended the best high school in Arizona.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Right? Number 1 high school in Arizona, Brophy Prep.
Yep.
I'm not messing that up.
You got it.
And so you guys already have, you guys have a squad. You guys constantly have people, going out and doing big things, and you guys just continue to follow that path. So Devin, how did that help with football? And then when did that track and football conversation come on? I know you've been a beast at track for a long time. So was it like, I'm really good at track and then football kind of came into the picture later, or was always your end goal was both?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I always played football, and that was like, growing up, I was like, I'm gonna go play college football and go play in the NFL. So, and I kind of, like you said, I was pretty good at track since I started running, but I really kind of burst onto the scene like my junior year in high school. But by that time already too, I was playing football and doing well at that as well. So, and sophomore, junior, senior year is around the time that all of us are getting recruited. So that was pretty much from the get go is, hey, I'm doing both. Wherever I go, I have to do both. So, some schools would let me do both, some schools wouldn't, and the ones that wouldn't, I wouldn't go to school there. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of just how my recruiting went. And I looked at the schools that were interested in me, playing football and running track and at a high level, and then just kind of compared and contrast between all those, and I ultimately chose Oregon.
And then, dude, to be at Oregon, with their at that time, Marcus Mariota is their quarterback. You guys are absolutely dominating in track. They have Jonathan, your teammate. You go there, it's like Marcus Mariota is my quarterback for football. I get to play with D'Anthony Thomas. Do y'all play together at least a year?
Yeah, my first year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get to line up, across the field from DeAnthony Thomas. I get Marcus Mariota throw me the ball. I get to train with Jonathan Cabral. He's, for those of you who don't know, track guy, also very, very talented.
6th place in the Olympics, Canadian champ for like 8 times or 9 times. I don't know, some crazy amount of.
And also Oregon Ducks. So man, you really went to there could have been a better place for you. But what other schools were you looking at that where you were kind of on the fence about, or was it Oregon all the way?
No, to be honest, not that Oregon jumped in late, but I was really interested in going to Stanford early on in my, recruiting career, and then also interested in going to UCLA. So, I'm a West Coast kid. I was born in Washington. I moved to Arizona, then I went to school in Oregon. So kind of West Coast for sure. My dad's from Columbus, so obviously, and he went to Ohio State, so obviously I had to give some love to Ohio State and check them out. And then while I was up there, I went to like Michigan and Notre Dame and stuff like that. And I actually did take a visit to Florida State, just to kind of see what that like, East Coast ACC vibe was like. But yeah, since probably like at the end of my junior year, I was like, okay, I think I want to go. I was either Stanford or Oregon. And then ultimately I was able to get the opportunity to get a full football scholarship at Oregon as well. And then that kind of sealed the deal. And yeah.
There you go.
Evan, we actually, real quick, before we get your answer, Robert, we actually have a question for you from San Antonio. What's that?
For me or Robert?
For you, for you.
Okay.
It's a San Antonio youth track team. They said, hey, Devin, how do you feel speed impacted your football career?
It's from the Grams.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, no, I think, in my opinion, speed is king. It's always, I always talk about this on Twitter and when I talk to people, it's always better to be faster. That's kind of my big advantage. Playing football was, I wasn't always the biggest, I'm 6'1", 180 pounds, but, I wasn't always the biggest. I always wasn't the strongest and stuff like that, but I was most definitely the fastest, and that kind of gave me my edge, and just gave me an advantage on the field, and that's something that you can't necessarily. You can train it for sure. I believe in that, but you can't necessarily like one guy from that has no speed, and the next year he's just going to be the fastest guy on the team. That doesn't work like that. Yeah. So it gave me a huge advantage. Obviously, it made me very recruitable because even if I wasn't the greatest route runner or the greatest athlete or had the best hands or whatever, they coaches would be like, okay, well, he's super fast, let's find somewhere to put him. So that's why I think being a running track as a young athlete and youth track and stuff like that helped me a lot.
Yeah, like I say, you can't make a slow person fast, but you can make someone that's fast a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Right. And going back to the recruiting thing, Bobby, you had an interesting recruiting trip. Well, hold on, Devin, did you look at Cal at all?
I actually went to Cal on an unofficial visit when I
thought we talked about that whenever you had gone.
I can't remember. Maybe my junior year, like the summer.
Yeah, because I was back home. It was my first year in college. I was already back home for the.
Yeah, so I can't remember exactly when I went to Cal, but I did go to Cal.
And I know Cal didn't treat Bobby right. I know that. It's all good, Bobby.
Nope.
We could have been teammates. We could have we could have freaking double teamed Devin.
I know. I'm not one to usually just go around, saying stuff, but I did a visit with the intention or with the knowledge that beforehand I was promised a substantial scholarship because we had said we're only doing visits to schools that are offering substantial scholarships. And when I returned home from my visit, one of the coaches went back on what they had said about a substantial scholarship situation. So that kind of turned us off from Cal. It was a great visit. I love the university. My dad's from Vallejo, so we liked it up there. It just didn't end up working out.
You had the best host too.
I did have the best host. Who was that guy?
There's a GPA requirement, and from what I heard, you didn't qualify. So
I had better GPA. What are you talking about?
If I got in, you guys would have been fine, bro.
Devin, in 3 weeks, I'll have one more degree than you.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Okay, great. And I'll be a day trader.
Hey, all right. So, Bobby, you want to talk about? So, Bobby
out of high school, or I'll let you tell them, Bobby, but talk about your recruiting process. We already touched on how that went, but then your first decision out of high school, go to the U, and then you want to talk about that.
Went to Brophy with Devin, and that was a interesting scenario just because being an athlete out of high school where there's already an athlete that is doing really well. Can you guys hear me? Or am I gone again?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We can hear you. You're frozen, but we can hear you.
Oh no. Hey girls, get off the Wi-Fi.
No, you're good. We can hear you. We just can't see you. We don't want to see you anyways.
All right.
Ma, get off the Wi-Fi.
Mom!
Meatloaf.
Mom, make some meatloaf.
Yo,
Okay. All
I
right.
gotta.
We'll give him a second.
I'll answer for him. He went to Miami, and I think the coach at Miami is a great coach, and I think Bobby didn't really realize, it's far from, like, being in college is tough, right? And it's far from home, and I think he ran really well that year too. But I think he was just trying to find somewhere that kind of fit him and his personality a little bit better. But I'll let him answer that when he gets there. But I spoke to him a lot. We talk probably once a week when we're in college, and obviously Bobby is an awesome guy, awesome athlete, and you just gotta sometimes the first pick isn't always exactly where you need to be, and he ended up at A&M, and that he ran amazing there, right? So
oh man,
yeah. So I mean, I'm not gonna say anything bad about Miami. I like Miami a lot, but A&M was definitely a good choice for him in the end.
Yeah, and that's what's so different, man, about track. And I know you've been under several coaches, and you've trained with different philosophies, and that's what it's about, man. I was having a conversation earlier today, on how coaches like to program their season. Are they speed early and then kind of build up strength and stamina later on, or hey, hey Kevin, I think Bobby's trying to get back in.
Yeah, I just admitted him.
Okay. Or you're gonna do endurance first and build a good base, and then try to develop speed later on in the season, right? And every athlete's different. For me, I mean, I've raced you. I've never been like the fastest. Like, I'll never run an open 100, anything that will make you bat your eye. It just look like some random kid ran 100. That's what it would look like.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you ran what, 10.3 in 100?
Yeah, 3 in college. Yeah.
And that's the type of speed you have to have in order to be successful in the 110s. I mean, lucky for me, I had the 400s, and you did too. Don't forget.
A couple times. Yeah, I hate to say it, but
I don't forget 400 hurdles, dog.
Hey, 4 second places in my freshman year. One
of them was against me.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't forget that.
All right, Bobby, go ahead. And we were just talking about your path to Miami, then to A&M. I said, sometimes, just as an athlete, you got to figure out what works for you, and you really, you agree with A&M's philosophy, and then you ended up going there and it worked out. But I want you to say it with your own words and why you chose those places and what you did.
I was saying before I don't know if you heard anything I said, but the internet went out here. I had to restart the router. But I went to high school with Devin, like Randy had said before. And so junior year of high school is a big recruiting year. And Devin probably had one of the greatest high school track years, I think, in the history in last like 50 years. Ran really fast in a lot of different events. So when something like that happens and that's your teammate, sometimes overshadowing can be a part of that. I was running really fast at the time, but it wasn't really as prevalent because Devin was having just a historic year. So going into my senior year, I really felt under recruited. Not a lot of big Power 5 track programs even knew who I was, really interested. And most of the time when I had like told them what I was doing, they had said like, "Oh wow, we didn't even know you were running this fast. Like we didn't even know about you." So it was kind of an interesting situation. And so I had a lot of schools interested, like TCU, Miami, Cal, UCLA, but not really the big track schools and Cal, but not really the big track schools that I really wanted to go to. In my opinion, TCU is definitely a big track school, but I wanted to go to a school that was going to win. But that just wasn't in the cards at the time. So I chose to go to the University of Miami because I felt like academically and athletically that was the right fit for me in the moment. And when I got there, I realized that the opportunity for me to get to where I wanted to be was at that time in the program wasn't probably going to be the right fit for me, not because of the coaches or the atmosphere or anything like that, but just because I felt like I needed to be with a different type of coach. And so I decided to reach out to a few programs, and I reached out to Texas A&M after that, my first year at Miami. And which, let me just say, I love Coach Amy Deem, and at the time Adrian Mann was there, and they were really great to me, and they gave me a full release, and they were awesome about it. It just wasn't the right fit for me at the time. So I reached out to Pat Henry, and he kind of got back to me and said, yeah, we'd love to have you here. We don't have any money right now. It was July. We don't have any money right now, but you're welcome to come here and walk on, and we'll give you they gave me $100 scholarship just so that I could be considered as a scholarship athlete, so that I could get technically the same perks that a scholarship athlete would get. But I was only on, that probably buys like half a book for school. So really wasn't on the scholarship as a walk-on. Yeah. So I went there because the training philosophy and the guys that I'd be able to compete with every day. And also I wanted to beat Oregon really badly. I'm just kidding. I just say that to piss Devin off. But and then it ended up working out. Coach had told me, okay, if you come here. So I left my full ride at Miami to go to A&M, which was a big deal for me and my family. But Coach had said to me, if you do what you're supposed to do this year, we'll take care of you. I came in with a broken foot, and so wasn't really sure how the year was going to go. Came back and ended up getting fourth at nationals in the hurdles, and then we got third in the relay, and I anchored it. So I think that was the year I had the fastest split at nationals. It was like 44.5 or something like that.
Did you guys win NCAAs that year?
No, that my first year we only got third. That was the year we struggled in the relay, because that was the year after Deion and Braylon left. So it was just me and Fred, but Fred wasn't the same Fred that he was towards the end of his A&M career, and I obviously was still developing as well. So we got third, I think, behind Florida and LSU.
No, wait, in the 4x4 or just
4x4? Yeah.
I'm talking about a team championship.
Oh no, we didn't get anywhere near a team championship that year. That's the year Donovan won. That was the year Donovan won 43.4.
Oh, yeah. The hand thing.
Yeah. He had the little thing on his hand that we.
I'll tell that story.
Just Donovan was shadowboxing in Tempe, Arizona at spring break, and he accidentally punched the mirror. If anybody knows who Donovan Brazier is, and he tore a ligament in his hand right here, and so he wore this little like cast thing, and kids used to message him and ask him what that was, and so I always joked with him and told him that he should tell kids it's some aerodynamic device that helps him go faster.
That's what I thought. I was like, dude, I need to get me
No,
one.
it was
Whatever that is. I need one.
If you run 143, I mean, yeah, whatever he's doing must be working.
So, Robert, Randy tells me that you've come out on a Sports Center top 10 a couple times.
Yeah, I was a part of a dive. I wasn't the diver, but I was a part of the dive in a 400-meter hurdle race at SECs. Yeah, so a lot of people don't know like the whole backstory to that situation, but I actually had in 2018 a pretty career debilitating injury. I broke my talus in my left ankle. So for all of you out there that don't know much about anatomy, the talus is the most important bone in your foot with regards to like force distribution. So as you put force through the foot, all that force goes through the talus and then out to the metatarsal, out to the navicular and the metatarsals, and so it's kind of like the middle of the ankle. It's kind of like the hinge. So if it doesn't move right or it's broken, it's a big deal. So a lot of athletes, actually their careers end if they break this bone because it has really low blood flow to the bone. And so you can get avascular necrosis, which is like where the bone literally just dies because there's no blood flow to it to bring it back. So I was hurt in February or March of 2018, and I didn't start running again, like running at all, until March of 2019. So a full 12 months, I didn't run at all. I just cross-trained. And through that time period, had a few doctors kind of tell me, like, this might not work. You know, I had to reteach myself how to strike the ground the right way, in a different way, like biomechanically. And there was no guarantee that I was going to be able to hurdle or even run again. So we started running, which was a good first step. And then I was able to hurdle, and we didn't know what was going to happen, but I was able to hurdle about 3 weeks prior to that for the first time. And it was a horrible race at Baylor, just super sloppy. Like my rhythm was off. It's like riding a bike with you hurdling, but it was like I almost hadn't ridden a bike in like 15 years. So it was super sloppy. And then my second race was at A&M the next week. And again, it was really sloppy, just trying to put together the pieces. And then we got to the SEC championships, and the preliminary race, I finally put together the form and the rhythm and everything, and I felt good about it. And then in the final, that's what happened. But it was crazy to me because I'm like, I just overcame this huge injury to run in this race, and I got dove on the last 2 meters, and then it just became this huge viral moment. And I was like, God, of course, I just overcame all this adversity. And then my teammate decides to dive, headfirst into the finish line. And it was funny at the time, but I'm going to be honest, I get super tired of seeing the video all over the place now, like really tired of it.
Well, I was saying that, but I was also talking about the catch.
Oh yeah, that was fun too.
Don't
That was
be all
interesting.
negative right away.
Huh?
Gee, you're talking about that. That was the most spectacular thing I've ever seen in my life.
I know that was just proof that you could have played football.
No, that was just the luckiest moment of my hand-eye coordination career. Devin saw firsthand my hand-eye coordination abilities in high school. I would say they're subpar. But the baton hit the ground and just perfectly came back up, and I grabbed it. And it was kind of a surreal moment because I didn't realize that I grabbed it for, like, when things happen quickly and you don't really like understand what's going on, but they're happening. That was kind of what was happening. Like I caught it, didn't realize it. I was like holding it, and then I was like, oh crap. So I just threw it.
I love the throw was the best part.
Yeah, people think I handed it to the guy, and I wish I could go back and hand it to him, because there's a lot of really nice guys on that team. So I felt really horrible because I guess they could have picked it up and get the race, but I chucked that thing like 30 feet into the infield. So that thing was gone.
You're running full speed, there's a lot of implications with this race, and you just did instinct. Like I ain't mad at you.
Yeah. Yeah, those two moments happened in the same meet, which was crazy. So like happy for my teammate for sure. He won that was his SEC championship. So, and it was cool. If it was another team, I think I would have been really pissed. But since it's my teammate, you have to just like be happy for the guy that, you work out with him every day and stuff like that. So definitely was happy for him.
Yeah, that's good, man.
Devin, you're a 2016 Olympian. Just for the people out there watching that maybe don't know the whole process and the work that goes behind it and in qualifying to be an Olympian, what are some things that stood out to you through that whole process?
I mean, I guess just, being the Olympic trials is a super intense competitive event, right? It's 10 days. And Bobby was there, right? It's 10 days of competition, and there's just a lot going on. So obviously there's a lot of nervous energy and stuff like that. And a lot of people travel to it. Luckily, I didn't have to travel because I was going to school in Eugene. But yeah, I mean, obviously I felt confident that I would make the team, and I was running really well that year. I think that season I was undefeated in the 110s.
Dude, you had a baller season that year.
Yeah,
I
think
fire.
like outdoors, I was undefeated. I think I was undefeated until the Olympics.
Yeah.
So So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that, you have a lot of confidence, and also I was like, I'm going to make the team, and luckily, that's a race that I always remember. And I ran really well, and I ran a PB, and then made the team in front of, all the fans that have been supporting me my whole career there. And then, my family was there as well. Sorry. And yeah, so I mean, it's an amazing experience. I guess to answer your question, the methodology or the platform to get there, I guess, is not no different than a regular meet. Obviously, the stakes are higher, so that adds more stress. But I think, just qualifying for the Olympic trials is a big step. Like, because they only take the best, 42 athletes in the U.S. or 30, 36, I can't remember, and then from there, you gotta be top 3, and that's super stressful as it is.
And then not only that, but then you're at the Olympics now, so you're in a whole different country, and now this is a show. Now you're not only representing Oregon or representing Devon, you're representing the United States of America, which is the hardest team to make across the board.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's huge, and then to go rounds over there too. It's not just I'm there, but no, you had to go rounds and then be an Olympic finalist too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you got to manage that as well. So, the Olympics or for me, like 4 or 5 weeks from the Olympic trials. So then you got to say, hey, am I going to try to get a meet in, or am I just going to train for 4 weeks? Am I going to go out there for the whole time, go to the opening ceremony, and then be there for 20 days or 16 days before I compete? Or am I going to go, 5 days before the event? So it's a whole bunch of stuff you're trying to figure out. And it's my first Olympics, so I felt like I had to be there for the opening ceremony. I think maybe the next one I'll go to the opening ceremony, and then I'll find a little Airbnb and a place to train on my own and just kind of focus up, because it's a lot of people around, there's a lot of energy, nervous energy, emotional energy, and just people running around for the most part. It's 10,000 people in the village, so that can be stressful as well. And then you don't get to eat exactly what you want to eat all the time, and your sleep. You have a roommate, so you don't know. Not that my roommate was great; it was Christian Coleman. So shout out to Christian. But like you might not. Might not have a roommate that will kind of fit with your schedule. So yeah, I mean, you got to manage that as well. It's just like anything, being a pro athlete, you got to be able to manage those stressors and compete at a high level, and then that's when you kind of stand the test of that stage.
And you said everything that people don't, a lot of stuff people don't realize. They just see they just see you, or they see Usain Bolt or someone else winning the Olympics, like, man, dude, like all that, but they don't think about that. They don't think about your diet. They don't think about the training program, how long the ceremonies are. I'm sure the village gets distracting, like you were saying. So during that, like you said, it being your first one, was there someone that you kind of reached out to, like, hey, any advice, any athletes or like former people that are retired or they were competing, also fellow teammates that made the team with you, like, hey, can you help me out? Like, what do you recommend? That kind of thing.
I mean, all that stuff happens. It's like, being the new kid at school. You try to cling on to an upperclassman trying to figure it out. But yeah, I asked like for advice about the opening ceremony. They said bring a chair, and so I brought one of those little like triangle chairs you can like
ones,
sit down, because they said this, it's like a 5-hour, 6-hour thing, right? So you don't want to be standing for 5-6 hours. Not that I can't, but it's
I get you.
And then just making friends, and obviously, and luckily I had great roommates, people that I was already friends with, before I even got to the Olympic Village. Like I said, Christian Coleman was my roommate, and I've been hanging out with Clayton Murphy, and then Robbie Andrews, who were some of my suite mates as well, and then we had tons of guys all around, just on that floor that I was friends with. So just being able to kind of hang out and not have to do anything, and and just be like, hey, content with going down to eat and coming back and just chilling, playing cards and stuff like that is good, because you can focus on training.
Yeah. What was the surreal moment for you, that when you realized, like, okay, this is real, like I'm actually here, this is happening?
I tell the story a lot. I feel like every time somebody asks me that, and I was in the cafeteria for dinner, and I was sitting like maybe 5-10 feet from Leandro Barbosa and Tony Parker. So, Tony played for the French team, and then Leandro played for the Brazil team, and they were just chill, like, because they're friends, they're in the NBA and stuff like that. But I was like, dang, Leandro was a Phoenix Sun when I was growing up.
Steve Nash, he played with all them, bro.
Exactly, right. So I'm like, dang, I was like, watch these guys growing up, and I'm sitting like 5 feet away, and like Leandro's talking to Brazil, like, and talking in Portuguese to some of his Brazilian teammates. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So yeah.
And you guys have a very unique, situation. Y'all are from the same school. Y'all have been friends for as long as I've known both of you, so how much does that help? I mean, I know I would talk to Bobby, and I'd reach out to you, Devin, but like whenever you're going through stuff and practice or your training is in flux and you don't know what's going on, I mean, how much is that advantage where you have someone not only is like, yeah, this is my friend that I can confide in, but no, I've known this guy for 15 years or 10 years, how much of an added benefit is having someone like that? I mean, I know both y'all have been through, experienced a ton of success, and with that success, there come valleys, where it's not so successful and where it gets difficult. So yeah, just, how much does that help, and where, what besides each other, like what else, helps you guys through those?
Yeah, I think having a friend like Bobby helps a lot, because we're in the same boat. We're doing the same thing. We're having the same struggles, and being able to kind of confide and be like, hey, this is what's going on, and this is what it is, and what do you think about this? This is what I'm doing for training. I've been kind of banged up. How do you manage this? Or even just like, hey, good job this week. In a meet per se, like, nice run, congrats, whatever. It's always nice because you have a friend that, like, that cares and stuff like that. So it's really cool.
Bobby?
I actually learned like a lot of my like Devin in high school to me was like a superhero when I first started running with him. So for me, it was a pretty big deal. Huh?
Your year apart?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 1 year ahead of me in school. Yeah. So when I came in as a freshman to Brophy, everyone was talking about this Devin Allen kid. Like for people that know Brophy, like he was going to be the next Ray Polk. He was going to be like the next Drew Maggi, or somebody that was just going to be like the best athletes come through Brophy in a long time. And so it was like surreal being able to just like practice them every day. And when you meet someone like that, that's like got this high status in high school as a sport and an athlete, you're kind of like, what is this kid going to be like? But Devin was always like extremely inclusive with me, always helping me with everything. Kind of learned most of my like pre-meet attitudes from him, like to have more fun than to like stress out and stuff like that. I kind of learned that more from Devin. And then when we got to like a pretty high level in athletics in college, I would, the first person I talked to about transferring was my dad, and the second person I talked to was Devin. So like he helped me with like going through that stuff. And then we talk a lot about just like life right now, mostly at this stage. And then we help each other out with certain things. He's kind of like another brother to me. So we just talk about stuff that is important to us, and sometimes we don't talk for weeks, but when we end up talking, it's like fine, like we were like just talking the last day or something like that. So to have a friend in the same sport as you, especially in a sport that's super lonely. A lot of people don't know how lonely track is. You're pretty much alone, like a lot of times training or in competition. You don't have anybody to help you in the competition. So just like bouncing ideas off each other and talking about training and competition, and just being like moral support, I guess that's definitely a good thing.
Mm-hmm. And going off of that, and then you go to Devin, and then y'all have each other. And like you said, now you're competing, he's at Oregon competing for national championships, and you're at A&M competing for national championships. And both of you guys are around like yourselves, you guys are around world-class athletes. You know, you train with them. You train by, you know, world-class coaches. What's so now going from having that, you know, y'all had that in high school where you're training with each other, right? I mean, it's hard to have the foresight of 5 years from now we're both going to be, you know, training for 2020 or 2021 at this point. But then now every day at practice, it's that same type of you know, competitive nature that it's with different athletes that you might not know as close, you know, as y'all know each other. So what different dynamic does that add versus training with someone that, hey, this is my buddy, this is my boy, and now we're trying to compete, but now I don't really know this guy. We're on the same team, but I don't really know him.
Yeah.
You know? And that is it adds a little different. But I've always said this about track and field, and particularly the hurdles and distance, I feel are like this. We're very tight, like we're all close with each other, you know. I feel like hurdlers, whether it's like at a meet, I mean, maybe in high school, it's like, hey, we all need to share the same hurdles, you know, to warm up, because the meet only has 10 hurdles for 50 athletes or whatever, right? So I feel like that forces us to get to know each other a little bit, see who's cool, see who's going to be the guy that's like, no, these are my hurdles, or we're like, no, go ahead, go ahead, you know. I feel like that adds a whole different dynamic as well, just being hurdlers apart from track and field, you know, because it is just us, like you're saying. It does get lonely when something bad happens, it's all on you, but when something good happens, you get all the credit, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, you know, exactly that. Obviously, you know, when me and Bobby compete against things or do workouts together, it's just way more competitive because we know each other and we kind of know, you know, how to like take small jabs at each other, and you know, we kind of know each other's limits per se. So I think it's even more competitive when you're friends with your training partners. And most good training groups are like that. You kind of become friendly with, you know, people that you're training with in general. And I've always had groups like that as well. So, but like you said, like in the beginning, you're kind of like, who is this guy? I don't know him. So you're worried about yourself. And that's, like you said, like what track is, it's, you know, it's a solo sport. And, you know, it's kind of one of those things that, you know, you're responsible for what you need to do in order to be successful. And that's that.
Yeah. So this is kind of changing directions a little bit, but like I feel like every athlete has that one meet or that one performance, that one race where I guess for you guys it's different, you know. In high school you have that one race or that one meet where it's like, all right, I can do this at the next level, you know. And then that same thing happens again in college. For you guys, you know, you run that race, you know, you're running these times, Bobby, and 400 hurdles that I can run the open, you know. And it's like you have that run that time, you see the time, like, whoa, okay, I can do this now. And we all know that track is not a sport where you're gonna get rich, you know. It's not for those that are going here trying to be multimillionaires and that kind of stuff. So you really have to have that love and passion for it, right? But it's a commitment. I mean, I know you have to put a lot of things on hold if that's what you want to pursue, because you can't do it part-time. It's very hard to be a part-time track and have a day job and then go train after school and then train after work or before work. Like that's not the norm. I feel like most people hit it right after. So what for you guys was those like moments where in high school and in college where you're like, okay, I got this at the next level? Devin, I know, you know, knowing you for a long time and keeping up with you since we met at Brooks meet, was that Arcadia meet that you had. You won the two. It was 300 hurdles, 110s, and 2.
Yeah.
That's an insane. I did the 300 hurdle 2 combo one time at the Great Southwest, actually, with Bobby. Bobby was there.
Yeah, I remember that.
Did that 300 hurdle 200, and it was not pretty.
Yeah.
So I for you, but I mean, you can go ahead and elaborate on that, and Bobby, you as well.
Yeah, I think that meet for sure in high school, you know, winning the open 200 and the 110s and the 300.
Can you tell everyone your marks at that meet and then your career personal bests for both of you and your perspective events?
I can tell you. In the 300 hurdles, I ran like 36. I don't know, 36,
34.
There you go, 36:34, and then the 110s I ran like 13:40 something. And then the 200, I ran 20.1. Get some good guys. And yeah, like all in the same, few hours. And then I think my breakthrough meet was in college at the NCAAs when I won my first NCAA title, running 13:16, the second fastest time, and the fastest time in like 30 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I broke on the scene, and I'm kind of interested in see what Bobby has to say.
I kind of knew in high school that I could do it, not really at a meet, but in practice. Because at the time when I was a sophomore and Devin was a junior, that's the year he was talking about where he ran that 13 low and that 36-second run. So being able to compete with him in practice and be like right next to him on a lot of the reps, that's when I was kind of like, okay, I can do this. Because if this kid right here is number one in the country in like 3 different events and I'm like nipping at his heels, then I can definitely do this at the next level. So then from that point, my confidence kind of grew, because when we'd go to a meet, it was like, I've already competed against this kid that's way better than anybody that I'm competing against today in practice. So what makes you think I'm scared of you at this track meet? Like,
Yeah.
I got to run against Devin every day in practice during these hard workouts. So like, what makes you think that you're going to be able to compete with me at this point? Because like, I'm already competing against a kid in high school who's number one in 3 different events. So just competing with him in practice gave me all this confidence to be like, okay, I can do this. And then in college for me, the SEC meet, my first year at A&M, I got second in that race. That was my first time running under 49, 49.4. And so then coming back, and I ended up splitting like 45 low. That was my first time doing those back to back like that. So to be able to run 49 seconds and then come back and run 45, that was kind of like, okay, like I've got the strength and the speed to do this. And then 2 weeks later, going to nationals and running 49 again, 49 again, and then coming back and splitting 44 on the relay. That's when I was like, all right, now I can definitely do this. Like if I'm splitting 44, which some kids that run the 400 can't even do in their event as a 400 runner, and I'm a hurdler, I don't even train for this. Like, I'm like, okay, this is definitely something that I can do.
Yeah.
Robert, you're a world record holder in the indoor 4x400 meter. Randy shared that with me earlier. Just talk about that and, kind of just walk us through that event.
So there's like 3 teams that claim the indoor 4x4 world record right now. It's a really interesting situation. So we raced at nationals in 2018. And actually at the time I was running on my broken ankle without knowing it. So that was interesting too. So we ran against Florida and USC. And for anybody that's like a track fan, USC ran 3 flat in that race indoors. And we ran 3:01.3, and Florida ran, I think, 3:01.5 or 3:16 or something like that. So we all beat the previous world record that was set the week before at the World Championships. But the reason why that we got the world record was because USC at the time had an athlete named Rai Benjamin, and he was technically classified as an Antiguas and Barbados athlete, even though he was born in America, New York, and he had a U.S. passport. But he had competed for Antigua and Barbados, I think, 3 years earlier at the World Championships. And he was in the process of transferring his allegiance, but it wasn't through yet. So technically he was not an American athlete. So you have to have all 4 of you from the same nationality on the same relay. And so at that time we were the team that had the fastest time of the 4 of us in the American relay. And so we got the record. And then the next year, Houston ran 3:01.6, which is 0.3 of a second slower than our time. But our time hadn't been ratified yet because we were tested by the NCAA testing group, and the World Athletics does not recognize the NCAA testing group as a testing group where they would ratify a world record or something like that. So our world record was not ratified, and Houston, who has a slower time than us, they were ratified because WADA, the World Anti-Doping Organization, was actually at the meet that they ran their time at, and they were tested. So technically USC should have the record. Technically we should have the record, but in reality Houston has the record because of a stupid rule about the testing method. So yeah, we like to say at A&M that we have the world record because technically we do. But if we're going off like realistically what it says on the website of the IAAF, and then Houston had their record ratified, even though it's slower than us. But that was a fun race, just because on my leg I had Grant Holloway and Rye Benjamin, and so it was just exciting to. I wasn't nervous. It was just I was just excited to go out there and compete, because that's one of those races where you'll think about that for the rest of your life, just because there's two guys on the relay with you that are extremely talented, that you're running against, and we're all friends. So it made it a little more fun and a little more interesting.
That's that hurdler bond, bro. I'm telling you.
Randy,
Sorry, what was that?
Randy?
I said hurdlers always cool with each other, man.
Yep.
I wonder why Grant doesn't run the 400 hurdles, dude.
I'm glad he doesn't. He can stay where he's at.
That's what I felt about Devin. When I saw he stopped running them, I was like, thank God.
Grant can stay with the 110 hurdles. He's comfortable there. Devin can have all that.
No one likes to hurt.
Randy, any more questions for the guys before we wrap up?
I mean, not really, man. I was telling you a little bit before we went on, man, about just where I'm from and the type of athletes that are out here, man. We look up to you guys. I mean, every chance I get, Devin and Bobby, I like to brag about you guys, and you're the exact same people you see on TV, Both you guys have been down to earth with me from day one. Even though we've always been at the same meets, but there's levels, and you guys have always been at that next level type. So I've been, one of y'all's fans and supporters. So just want to thank you guys, man. And a lot of my kids that I coach, a lot of kids from back home, from where I'm from, they don't get to hear, athletes like you guys at all, or very often, So just before we leave, if you don't mind just sharing a couple things, a couple tips of advice, whatever brands y'all are working with, whatever you guys want to promote, your Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. Now is the time, man. Y'all go ahead.
Shout outs. No free shout outs.
There you go.
Just I think to any young athlete, the biggest thing is just to have some goals and set them, whether they're huge goals or small goals, you got to start somewhere and then kind of work towards that. And once you work towards that, you make a new one. That's my biggest thing and something I believe in. And yeah.
Sweet.
I guess for me, what I would say to younger athletes is just to be consistent. Consistent in your training, consistent in your everyday life, and to not take anything for granted when it comes to practices or competitions, stuff like that. Practices are a bummer in track and field a lot of times because they hurt pretty bad. But if you just kind of embrace the suck, I think that's like a Marine saying, like they embrace the suck or something like that. But I think if you just embrace that and you just kind of go out there and you take that pain and you just use it as motivation, I think you'll see where you want to go. You'll get there. And staying consistent with your training, your eating, your mentality towards things. I think that's the most important part of just being a young athlete, is just trying to improve in all areas of your athletic life, not just focus so much on one thing, but work on your mental, work on your form, work on everything, focus on school, because without school, you're not going to get into schools. Without good grades, you're not going to get into schools. That's a weird way to say that. Like you need a good GPA, you need good SAT, ACT. You're not going to get into high academic schools if you don't have good grades. So definitely don't take your academics for granted either.
Yeah.
Any shout outs to any family or friends that might be tuning in now or later?
Shout out to my family. Shout out to Nike, my sponsor. I just, shout out to you guys for having us on and, getting to chat and talk some track.
Robert, any shout outs?
I think my buddy Trent was watching. I don't know if he's still watching anymore, but he sent me a funny message. I think he called me a funny name, taking a picture of my face. So shout out to Trent for being disrespectful about my face on this video chat. And then I'm not super sponsored like Devin is, but I do have one really great sponsor, which is Thorne Supplements. So definitely I got right here. So shout out to Thorne. They're a supplement brand.
Love it.
They keep me healthy, and I take a lot of their supplements. So they've been really helpful with me this year. So shout out to Thorn. Go on their website and go buy some stuff. They'll keep you healthy if there's coronavirus stuff.
Sweet, man.
Use
Well,
hashtag OG Bobby Grant for 10% off.
Oh yeah, follow me on Instagram, OG Bobby Grant. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys, man. You guys always have a home down south with us. You guys have been probably some of my closest track friends. I've known you guys probably the longest. You know, I wasn't really on the scene until my senior year. Until you know.
Randy downplays himself like he wasn't like legit, but Randy was legit. Don't let Randy tell you guys he was legit. Randy was legit.
I was looking up to you guys, man. I always, you know, Bobby and we talked always race strategy, and you know, I didn't talk race strategy with Devin because I don't know how to run that fast. So I got to the point where I was listening to Bobby was telling me his splits, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm not gonna go 3.7 between the first 5 hurdles. So we'll talk later. Anyway, guys, but you guys always have a home, man. Thank you guys again. During this whole quarantine stuff, we're trying to do more stuff like this often. I want to get more track people together. So if you know anyone, any of your y'all's buddies want to talk track and you know, talk to some people down here, man, they're always welcome. So I appreciate you guys, man. You guys are great. Kevin, thanks again for hosting us. Shout out to Real Sports Live. Been having great guests tomorrow. Or are you gonna talk about tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow actually we got a little bonus coverage. At 1, we're gonna have Westlake High alum, current LSU product, Michael Martin. He's gonna be joining the show at 1. At 2 o'clock, we squeezed in our boy Brandon Garza. He's gonna be joined by World Series champion Tres Barrera of the Washington Nationals, Sherryland alum. Followed by 3 o'clock with Santa Rosa boys legends, A.B. Lozoya and Leo Lada. They're gonna be joining us at 3, and then at 5 o'clock. Bronzo Veterans alum and current Seattle Mariner, Fred Villarreal Jr. Will be joining our show tomorrow. So you guys, thanks for joining us, man. We, you know, this is a bonus show. You know, Randy texted me this morning, said, hey, I got a great idea. Let's have these guys on. I said, sure, let's make it happen. So you guys are more than welcome to come back on again anytime you guys want. Just let us know. And like Randy said, if you know of any of their track athletes that want to come on here and talk track, we can make it happen. So thank you guys for joining us. Stay home, stay safe, stay healthy. And, you know, like, you know, we've been saying, you know, we're sure everything will get past this and sports will be back soon enough.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Easy,
Yes,
guys.
sir. You guys be safe. See y'all.